order. If you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have the roll call?
Councilmember Bach.
Here.
Councilmember Stemple.
Here.
Excuse me. Councilmember Williams.
Present.
Councilmember Valenzuela.
Here.
Councilmember Cerveny. Here.
Here. Next is the consent agenda. If there are no requests to have any items removed from the consent agenda, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the mayor's report. I do have a few items this evening that I'd like to share with everyone. First of all, can't believe it's already talking about March, but my next mayor's town hall will be March 7th at 6:30. They're at the Public Works Building. Everyone is invited to attend. It's a very informal meeting. I very much enjoy them. I think the people that attend enjoy them, so I'll look forward to having that again on March 7th. I just want to take a moment to thank the Public Works crew for taking good care of our roads during this past week with the snow and ice. They did a phenomenal job. We're very fortunate to have the crew that we have, and they just get on it, they stay on it, and they get the job done. And you have to remember, we only have 4 people that work on that, so it's pretty remarkable. So they did great. Last Wednesday, I attended a AWC Mayor's Exchange in Olympia. It was attended by about 50 mayors from around the state. Very good meeting, as all AWC meetings are. Governor Inslee spoke for about 45 minutes in the morning. Gave a very good presentation. One of the things he talked about was homelessness, which is, as we all know, getting to be a bigger and bigger problem all the time. But he gave out a statistic that I thought was pretty interesting. He said that for every $100 that rents go up, homelessness goes up about 12 to 14%. So it's that's a pretty staggering number. And he also mentioned that there truly is a housing crisis throughout the whole state of Washington, and it really is affecting all price points for housing. It's not just low-income housing or affordable housing. It's all throughout the whole spectrum. So a lot of cities are being challenged with that right now. Last evening, the City Council and the Planning Commission, we had a joint meeting. We had a presentation from a traffic engineer with DKS. We discussed the Transportation Capital Facilities Plan. It was a very good meeting. It lasted for about 2 hours. It was really the first pass that the Council and the Planning Commission will take at this document. So now it's going to go to the Planning Commission. They'll continue working on it for a while. There will be a public hearing. The public hearing is scheduled for April 10th at the Planning Commission. After they're done with their public hearing, it'll come to the Council, and we'll also have a public hearing. So that's going to be moving through its process here in the next couple of months. Just a reminder that we will be advertising for a alternate for the Planning Commission, as well as for a new Civil Service Commissioner. Those will be advertised in the sewer bill this month, so be watching for that as well. Just to update the Council, we did have a bid opening today for the roundabout. There were 9 bidders. What's that?
Finally.
Yeah. So it was great. 9 bids. I really can't say, what the results are. It's still preliminary. It has to go through WASDOT, and it's just the beginning of the process. But at least the bids have been opened, and we're moving forward with that. And
Were we in the ballpark? I mean,
for the engineer's estimate?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
thank you.
And then the city will be having an open house to talk about the roundabout construction, the phasing of the roundabout construction, and that's going to be on March 20th, and it will be, we'll have two sessions, one at 4 o'clock and one at 6 o'clock. So, and that will be also advertised in the sewer bill, and it's going to be at the community center.
Janice, I know, meeting request. Yeah, all these should have meeting requests. And the sewer bill should have.
And then lastly, I would like to introduce Janice Corbin. Janice Corbin is here this evening. Janice is, her company name is Sound Employment Solutions. Janice has been working with the city for almost 2 years now, and she's been helping us with HR issues, personnel issues, union negotiations. Yeah, she's pretty much helped us in a lot of different areas. So I'm glad you're here tonight, and I'm glad that you had a chance to meet everybody, Janice. Thank you for all your help. So that's all I have this evening. Our city attorney is not here this evening, so we'll go right into council member comments. Council member Balf?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I just have one item, and I will be representing the city in a series of stakeholder meetings which the county fire marshal will be holding. Topic to be discussed is fireworks, possible changes and any possible ramifications if there are any changes. At this point, no meetings have been scheduled yet, but the fire marshal's in the process of putting those meetings together, and I'll keep everyone informed as to what happens in those meetings. So that's all I've got.
Oh, great, yeah, thank you for doing that. That's great. Councilmember Stimmel?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to Public Works. I leave pretty early in the morning, between 5:30 and 6, and the roads were just in great shape. You guys do an awesome job spraying for ice.
Thank you. I'll pass it along.
Very appreciated.
Yep, appreciate it. Councilmember Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. The only thing I have is last night's meeting, I think, was great. I really enjoyed that. I think we got a lot out on the table. Stimulated a lot of conversation, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Glad we were able to do a joint meeting like that. That's all I have.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, and yeah, we will be having another joint meeting in March. The next thing we'll be discussing will be the sign code. And then we also have one other issue to work with the planning commission on, and that'll be the mixed-use development and cottage housing. So hopefully we'll get those both done at some time in March.
A comment on the
Councilman Valenzuela.
transportation meeting last night. It's going to be some transportation priorities, and they'll come out as they work their way through the process. There's a number of transportation objectives that are right there in the next 3 to 5 years to try to solve some of our issues on our streets and roads. That's what the meeting was last night, so in case you were wondering. You'll hear more about it. There'll be some more meetings as we go along. 2 meetings to report on. C-Tran, and I just got back from the court meeting at Ridgefield. So at C-Tran, they had a board meeting, a big one. It was like a 4 or 5 hour meeting. They have a new guy in, Sean, and Sean has brought his philosophy forward from where he came from. And basically, there was a lot of group process team management stuff that was discussed. They did give me a copy, digital copy of that, so I'll get that. I'm working with the mayor. I'd like to see that presentation be given to us, and it's the planning perspectives of C-Tran and what they are proposing to do in the next few years as far as the county-wide transportation network. I think it'd be worth our time to have either a work session or even in front of a council session. It was really good material. It's the kind of stuff that I used to try to do when I was back in the olden days when I was a fire chief, and I think we could benefit from maybe a similar kind of session. So maybe we could get one of those individuals to come out and give us a sort of a group process team management for elected officials. I think that would be beneficial to us. So anyway, I'm going to propose that we consider that. I have a copy of the stuff that they gave me online. If you guys want, I can email it to you. I'd give a copy to the mayor already. So anyway, I would suggest that we consider that. Anyway, it was a real productive meeting. They've got on their board. They've got some pretty good heavyweights. There's the county chief county commissioner Bolt, and there's a bunch of a big city and small city people that are represented there. North County was represented by John Main from Ridgefield, but he covers us and Yacolt as well. Anyway, it was a very productive session, and we learned quite a bit about what their plans are going to be in the near future. Then I just got back from the port meeting, and you guys will be happy to know. Dark fiber is on the way. Senate Bill 2464, I think it is. It's in final conference right now. They expect to have it out in the next day or two. And I don't know if you know what dark fiber is, but it's the stuff that all the IT companies use. It's like I don't even know the terms, mega gigs or whatever they are. Anyway, if that is available, they're going to put in the port's proposing, as soon as it passes, to put in a 42-mile linkage so that any IT companies that want to come here will be able to be satisfied, including our own TDS and Comcast and whatever, they'll be able to have the mega data available to them all along the I-40 corridor for 42 miles. They're going to put it in. They're going to put it in, and then they're going to lease back to whatever companies want to come in. So you might have a lot better selection. And if you do work at home, mega data work at home, because that's one of the advantages of it. You can do 99% of your work at home, no matter what kind of a job you have, because you're linked in so well. Anyway, the hospital is still going forward. It's a little sketchy there in Ridgefield, but the college is still online to try to put something in that Ridgefield as well. And then that'll make you guys all real happy is they sold some land, and we will now have a store just 2 miles away. It's a grocery store. So Rose Hours, within a year, Rose Hours will be built at 45th, at that second roundabout going in on Pioneer Way there. On that second, on the left-hand side, they've got a $20 million complex going in right there.
Right.
$20 million. So, and it'll be a grocery store a lot closer to it.
What's the name of the grocery store?
Rose Hours. It was started in Spokane many years ago when I was a youngster. I know they had them. They started many years ago, and they've expanded to several Pacific Northwest states.
Oh, okay.
But it's a good store. It was, at least that's what I recall. All Liz remembers is that there was a cheap place to buy beer when she was in college.
I didn't see.
I admit to a little bit. So those were the three big things. Anyway, they sold a bunch of land to the private developer, and Rose Hours is working with the private developer. So within a year, that complex, the grocery store should be in, and then it'll take several other, related projects. There's several other things, coffee shops and et cetera. But it's a real nice complex. They went all over the Pacific Northwest, several states, and they did the same thing we did. Took pictures of everything and decided what they wanted, and they've got a vendor that will build to their standards. So it's going to be a nice looking complex from what they showed us. So that's the two reports that I had.
Very good. Well, thank you for that, and thank you for attending the meetings, Joe. That's great. Appreciate it. It's great to have representation at those meetings. Councilmember Servany.
I too would like to pass along my thanks for the early morning clearing of the roads. It always helps me get to my end place of work each morning. And I guess I would also like to express my apologies for missing last night's transportation meeting. I had intended on going, but work got in the way there too. So forgive me for missing that. But thanks everyone for coming. And I don't have any meeting reports to give this evening.
Good. Thank you. Okay. So next on the agenda, we have staff reports. This evening, we have one report from Director Levitz. She will give us the financial report for the year end for 2017.
Mayor Thornton, council members, and citizens. Tonight, what I'm going to be doing is going through 2017, kind of a look back at where we ended up. Guys and John, they're used to the format, so what I normally do is I go through by fund. I'm going to give you kind of a walkthrough on what this It's not tricky, it's not hard. Doug, you're probably a little more familiar, and you're going to pick up this easy, but let me at least walk you through the format. These folks have seen this format many times. So again, I'm going to be going down as a general fund. So on this spreadsheet, this first column on the left, this final budget, this was the budget that was adopted. The second column to the right there, is the first quarter total. Those are the summaries. And again, it starts revenues at the top and then expenditures. Okay. The second column is the second quarter, third column is the third quarter. Makes sense. This is the first time I'm presenting the fourth quarter information, so this is why I give you the details. So there's detail for October, November, December, fourth quarter. Then I show you the actual to the budget, where we landed up at it as far as the year end. The column, this column, percentage of a whole, this might work too. This is important to pay attention to, because you'll note some of these numbers, for instance, let's look at the gambling pull tab. So, and then again, so you go over here and you just follow line across. So you look at that 197, you think, oh my goodness, wow, we did so much better than budget. Keep in mind that's only 1% of the whole. So what you want to focus on in the numbers over here, the big numbers again, that's 61%, that's the gambling card rooms. That's obviously the biggest revenue stream that we have in the general fund. And I've done the same thing going down with the expenditures. So what I'm going to do is again just start at revenues and just work our way down. Property taxes came in as budgeted, a little bit higher than budgeted, only because probably some delinquent payments came in. That's pretty common. Some people probably paid up. Retail sales and tax were a little bit below budgeted. Again, we had anticipated getting about $500,000 out of sales tax from the interchange. Didn't come in. It ended up being about $375,000, so that didn't come in, and that was spread out over 2 years. Gambling taxes. We had budgeted $1.9 million, and we came in at 2.3, which was a lot higher than we expected. Part of that was we budgeted very conservatively, and the main reason was that the first third of the year came in startlingly high. We didn't expect it so high. They hit a wall in the fall, the late summer and the fall, significant wall, and they didn't really do all that well for the rest of the year. So the reason we are so significantly over budget on that is due to that first third of the year, because that was startlingly how well they did. So overall, the general fund, the total revenues were this $3.8 million over here. So we were a total of $429 over budget. And again, primarily due to the card rooms. The excise taxes, you recall, we budgeted to have them start at the end, the third quarter of 2017. We ended up not doing that, so that's why those look so grim. So we'll see that. They'll go forward in the 2018. Expenditures. What I'm going to do on expenditures, I'm going to go through and give you a little bit, just some highlights for each of the departments. You can see the totals. So John and Doug, these are totals. These include all the departments, and there are 7 departments in the general fund. So these are all rolled up. What I'm going to do in my narrative is I'm going to go through on each of the departments to kind of give you some of the highlights on these.
It doesn't include the wastewater treatment plant.
It does not include these. No, it does not include finance, legislative, police, parks, and public works. So it's just those departments. Starting with the finance department, professional services costs were 131% of budgeted. So city attorney costs, HR consultant, financial consultant costs came in a little bit higher than we had budgeted. And in addition, we went ahead and purchased iCompass for $6,000. We hadn't budgeted for that. Overall, the finance department ended at 113% of budget, primarily due to professional services. Police department, salary was 93% of the budgeted amount. We had a resignation at the end of November of 16. Well, that was still budgeted in 17. We had an unexpected resignation of these 2 fairly senior officers. We then hired a new person. Obviously, a lower officer came in the lower scale, so there's a big gap in the salary and the benefits. In addition, the 2 guys that retired had family, and the young one that we hired out didn't. So you're going to see the significant difference in the budget in the benefits costs. Overtime, however, was 119% of the budget amount, primarily again due to the fact that we were understaffed. So you're going to see that. And again, the new officer that was hired was entry level, so he wasn't going to the street for quite a while. So the other senior officers had to pick up the slack. The 119% includes approximately $10,000 reimbursement from the Cowlitz Indian tribe. When they opened, we had a lot of overtime, and they reimbursed us for that. So that reduced the overtime a little bit.
So that was all overtime? That whole $9,000 is, or $9,700 is all overtime?
I believe so, I'm not positive, I can get back to that,
Okay.
but I would say it was
I
primarily
just-
overtime.
Yeah, I believe it was, but.
It was,
yeah.
and it was the composite rate, so that rate included the cost of the officers, that includes their benefits, their vacation, that was a full meal deal, so they paid.
So that's included in the
for
119% then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, without that, it would have been higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, when that comes in, do you enter that as intergovernmental? Is that how it's
No, because
classified?
it's not really intergovernmental. CalEt's not their sovereign nation. They're not really intergovernmental. In fact, we actually ended up putting it miscellaneous. And-
Miscellaneous.
Yeah, which was
Okay.
scruffy, but there really isn't anywhere else to do it. Because it was a composite rate, I couldn't reduce the salary and the benefits because the salary records the actually hourly rate. Yeah, so it was, so I wanted to disclose that there was $10,000 that was reimbursed, but
Okay.
it just had to kind of have some, go to miscellaneous, and it didn't.
Thank you.
Yeah. So overall, the police department budget ended at 90% of the budget. So they came in under budget. Planning department, salary and benefits costs were lower, again, due to the unfilled community development director position. Overtime costs were higher than budgeted due to just the sheer number of work sessions and the meetings held at the planning commission. In addition, the number of meetings and then the unfilled community development director pushed the city planner costs a little bit higher because we were anticipating that he was going to take over some of those. So overall, and then we had the comp plan amendment was a bit more expensive than we'd anticipated. So overall, the planning department ended at 109% of budget. Public Works Department, salary and benefit costs were lower than budget due to an unfilled maintenance position. Again, you'll recall that one maintenance worker that went in the sewer. We didn't replace that position. We did have higher than budgeted costs for a temp. We brought the temp on in August, and we kept it through the end of the year just to help out. Supplies were 81% of the budget. The staff, again, they were shorthanded. They weren't able to do the maintenance that they would normally do. So we saw that on the roads pretty much. Services were 108% of budget due to consultant costs for the slide repair on Spencer.
Yeah.
Okay, over there. And then in addition, there was an additional cost for emergency supplies. Now, those were offset by a TID grant. So we got a TID grant, we then hired a consultant, but again, it's still, you don't net those out, so it still looks like the expenditures, it bumped the expenditures up. So again, they ended up 108% of budget. Overall, the Public Works Department ended up 89% of budget. So, Parks Department, staffing was as expected, so salary and benefits were close to budgeted. Services, again, were a bit over budget because of the temporary worker that we brought on. Overall, the Parks Department ended at 100% of budget. So,
Is the temporary worker, is his salary allocated toward the Parks Department
He's
or
in
Public
Parks.
Works?
He's in Parks.
100% or that?
yeah, only because we just have a line item in there where it is. Technically, I probably should break it out, but normally, we don't have them on as long.
Okay.
So I can certainly break that out more for 2018.
No, it's curious.
Okay.
All right,
Okay,
thank you.
So the general fund, we ended up with a surplus. So again, here's our revenues, here is the expenditures. We ended up with a surplus of $316,000. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next fund. The reserve fund, no expenditures, just showing the interest. The interest is still, the interest rates are just not great, so we're just not earning the money we used to. Impact fee funds.
Suzanne, can I
Yes,
interrupt for a minute, please?
absolutely.
Interest rates, are you seeing any kind of a creep up?
Yes, LGIP is, oh, don't hold me this, is doing about 1.2 now, which, from the 4% days, that's dreadful, but considering when we were literally 0.3, and now I'm earning 1.23.
Okay.
I'll take it. Yeah, so we are creeping up, thank goodness. But also, another thing, normally, I invest some money in bonds, and we have a nice ladder portfolio. We weren't sure what was going to happen with card rooms, so we kept a lot of cash on hand. We put in LGIP, that's the highest earning rate, but we weren't sure. So that also impacted the amount of interest we could earn, because the bonds, I buy them at, 3 to 5 year, 10 years, but I needed to keep us fairly cash heavy on this one, so that's why the interest rates are not as lovely as they used to be. And trust me, it kills my account, and we moan and groan over this. Okay, impact fees. We budgeted $126,000. The actual year-end revenue was $145, about $20K over. We had budgeted for 25 new lots. We ended up getting 28. So, not bad. Not bad. The other thing I want to bring to your attention is this is a revenue. So, when we bought the bank building several years ago, it was for the roundabout construction. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to keep the building. We bought it out of TIP. TIP is a restricted revenue. You can only use it for capital projects. The roundabout project is the #1 project on our transportation plan, so very TIP eligible. So we bought it. So we bought the building and the land. Weren't quite sure what we were going to do with the building, so we had to do preliminary design. Once we were done with preliminary design, it looked like we could keep the building. So we repurposed that building for Public Works. Public Works was renting space, so it made sense. Maybe if you penciled it out, it made a lot of sense. The problem is that now you've got this asset that you purchased with TIF funds and you're using for general purpose, general fund purposes. Can't do that. So we had to get a survey done to figure out the cost, to break out the cost. How much is TIF eligible and how much is general fund? So that was done in 2017. The survey, the price was $500,000, and of the $500,000, $223,000 was TIF eligible. So we transferred the money from capital projects to the TIF fund. The TIF fund bought it, and the capital project had been paying rent on that money. This was finally a true up. So at this point now, the capital projects fund does not owe the impact fee any more money. We're trued up. Does that make sense?
A little bit. But we've been paying, right, we've been paying ourselves off.
Rent. We're paying rent as well.
Yeah, we're paying
and I did
ourselves
that out
off.
of the cost, yeah.
Okay.
You bet. Yeah. And then the only expenditures in the impact fund are from the roundabout, a little bit of design. We put those in there. Capital projects fund. This looks scary. All this revenue, well, again, that's the roundabout. As you guys may recall, we made that decision to postpone it one more year. So it was in there, so you're seeing all these expenditures that were budgeted. We pushed the roundabout on for the next year. So we didn't do much. However, one thing that we did do that was not necessarily budgeted, the sewer line to the junction project. Sorry. So that project, there were components of that project that were Port of Richfield's work and Clark PUD. Again, when you're going to tear up a road, other agencies will say, great, will you put a line in there for us? Will you do this for it? Of course, it's very common. You don't want to tear up a road 3 times. You're going to do it once, just everyone participate. So we had the contract with Tapany. Tapany did the work for Port of Richfield and the Clark PUD, and we tracked all of that. And originally, I was going to run everything through another fund. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I had a really fun bout of bronchitis. So the problem is running the Clark PUD and these 2 outside agencies through the sewer revenue bond. That was problematic. Couldn't do that. So after thinking about this, what we ended up doing is running those 2 parts of the project through the capital project fund. So the entire capital project is being run through 2 funds. The portion that is just the city's part and the sewer part is being run through the revenue bond, and the portions that Port of Richfield and the CPU portions are being run through the capital projects fund. And it's literally money out, money in. The day that I pay Tapany is the day that I invoice Port of Richfield and Clark PUD. The turnaround has been less than 2 to 3 weeks. So does that make sense? So that's why there's nothing budgeted, because this was sort of a last minute change to add that in there because we couldn't run it through the revenue. Okay. So and again, you're seeing the revenues and then you're seeing the expenditures again. It's just an in and out. So we really didn't do much in this fund other than just a few projects.
I think that's good that you ran those separately through the capital projects fund, because if you ever got audited, would that be a real mess
Exactly.
to try to explain?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, I know, that was smart.
Yes, yeah, and again, it's an in and out, and they're very quick about reimbursing us, so that's not a problem. Vehicle and equipment reserve, again, that's just to show the interest. There were no vehicles purchased this year, so nothing ran through that fund. Almost done. Sewer fund. So in the revenues, charges for services, we were over budget. part of it, we had a few more houses than we had anticipated. And also, as I mentioned before, we've been working with a new collection agency. So we've had a lot of big, really delinquent accounts get settled, because you're also seeing that in miscellaneous. Those are some of the late fees, so we've had some pretty significant late fees. At this point, we are really getting our collections to where they should be. We've got a really good collection agency. I mean, it's not nice, but at this point, the city's getting this money in at this point, so we're where we should be. So again, that's why this number is a little bit higher than we had budgeted. Salary, let me get to my notes. So salary and benefits were under budget by 16%, again, because we didn't have the supervisor position filled for 10 months out of the year. Same with budget, same with benefits. However, overtime costs were 183% of budget, because that was where you had the employees that were there picking up the slack for the person not being there. Supplies were under budget by 40%. Again, the staff wasn't necessarily able to perform the collection system maintenance that they normally do, so that's where you saw the savings on that. And services were 110 due to the cost of the wastewater treatment plant outsourcing consultant. So that's the sewer fund. Sewer capital equipment fund, interest, and again, don't forget the 95,000. So here's your operations fund, and you're seeing 230,000 that is transferred out. It goes to those two funds. It goes to the operations fund and the capital fund. Okay, so 95 of it, there's the revenue. So of that 230, 95 of it went to this fund, and the rest of it went to the fund on the next page. This one expenditure out of the sewer line was the release of the retainage for the sewer line of Pacific Highway.
2016.
What was that?
It was done 2016.
Yes. Okay. So, okay, sewer line fund. So here's the sewer line fund. This is the sewer bond, that revenue bond that we have that is being paid for the Cowlitz. So, and I've got a table further on that I'll show you where we are with the project. We're at about 3.9 million. We have about another 100,000 to spend, and we're just about done with the project. So those are the expenses that will run through this fund. And you'll note the 5 million is how much we initially budgeted, but after adopting this budget, I moved the Clark PUD and the CPU project over to that. So that's why this looks so crazy under budget, because I moved the big chunk over. Make sense? Okay. Sewer debt, SDCs, again, came in higher than we thought they would. Interest was fine. Transfer in, so this is the other half of that transfer that came from operations. The 230 went 95 and it went 135. So again, this is the money transferred out of the operations to the sewer debt. Okay. No? Okay. Last fund is the school grant. I'm going to be submitting the last reimbursement. It's about 176,000, so that'll be running through in the next week or two, and then we are done with that project. And so in 2019, I'm going to get rid of this fund. This fund's going to go away.
On the revenue sides of the sewer, we had set our rates at a certain rate so we could start getting paid back.
No. That is the bond that's being paid for the Cowlitz Indian Tribe. We are not.
I'm talking about when we set our sewer rates, we had funded it in such a way that we could start getting some of the money that the sewer fund owes us back. Where's that showing up at?
That's in 2018.
That's in 2018.
18 is when
18
that's
is
gonna
the
happen.
first year that
Okay.
we did actually, there'll be a $200,000 payment from
Okay.
the sewer operations into the general fund, yeah.
And that was one that we're going to make a year-by-year decision on. We're not going to set it up as two. We're going to make that decision every year based on what it looks like, what the revenues look like, what the expenditures look like. Okay, so here's just the final, and again, under $1,700,000 in the revenues. Again, that's primarily that grant in capital projects fund, that $1,300,000 that we're going to be getting in. And then again, the expenditures, obviously, we just didn't spend as much as we had budgeted. So now let me show you.
So, excuse me,
Yes.
Suzanne, but just to go back up to you were talking about the grant for the school grant.
Yes.
What about the John Pollock Park? Has that been funded as well?
It's, what do you have left, 120?
Yes. Yes, 120.
Yeah, we're using that, and we haven't been reimbursed for all of that.
We're still waiting on that part, okay?
That's
But
what
that
I'm-
has nothing to do with this part of it, or?
Yes, it
Ms.
is.
Well, this part, this is the one we run through. These are school expenditures. These are
Right.
just the school expenditures.
So that's
We don't run-
separate
yes,
from the-
that is separate.
okay.
We don't run ours through that. Those go run through the capital projects.
Okay. Start
Okay.
with that.
Okay, so then again, here's the total. What I would like to show you now is the table, I'm going to show you the table for the construction of the sewer line to the junction. So we are, so again, the initial drawdown was this 4.4 out of 5 million. If you may recall, the terms of the ordinance required that we set aside 10% of that. The bank has 10% over the reserve fund of that. So we pulled out the reserve. So we have spent year-to-date, project to date, we spent 3.9 million. We've anticipated there's about another 90,000, 92,000 in expenses. So we went ahead and kind of rounded up. We drew down another 99,000, pulled out another 11,000 for the reserve. So now at this point, the total drawdown is going to be this 4.5. Here's the amount set aside for the reserve, and here's the amount budgeted for the project. So and again, we thought it was initially going to be about 5 million, so we're doing good. We're doing good. And we still have, you'll note, we've drawn down 4.5 out of a total of 5 million, so there's still a little bit of wiggle room. At this point, we don't anticipate any issues, but if anything pops up, we still have a little bit of wiggle room.
Has that been tested at all? It's been fully
Yeah, we
tested
have-
now?
Yes, we have only two components that are still outstanding that they're working on. One's a valve and one is a dioxide system. It's really very minor stuff. The integration has been done, so it's just about there.
Probably didn't need to ask that in this section, sorry.
Working on the lake limits and that kind of thing.
So I just have two more things to show you. One, iCompass. iCompass has a feature where you can go live. That is, we have a YouTube channel, and so you could be listening to this live, but we did not want to bring this on you to just start going live without you folks giving us some feedback if you even want us to go live or not. So at this point, and then on the process out there, and then if you folks want to have that discussion. So again, it has the ability to go live, so people could be listening on to it from a YouTube channel at home, or we can keep it private. But again, the mayor did not want to just spring this on you that all of a sudden, hey, you're live. Guess what? So I'm seeing a head nod.
That's audio only?
Yes,
Sad.
audio only. It's audio.
It's audio only.
It's
It's
audio.
immediately available right after the city council meeting if it's not live, so.
Not in real time.
It's, right, so
We
it's,
already record those, don't we?
well, we're using iCompass right now,
Yeah.
so it's being recorded, and then as soon as the meeting concludes, then it's available online for anybody that would like to listen to the meeting. But if we were live, all these great people that come to our meetings might not want to show up. They just stay home and listen to it at home. So
sad with that.
that was one of my
In your
considerations.
PJs.
So, again, it's up to the council. I wasn't going, I think it's something y'all have to know that, first of all, that's the way it's being utilized, the system is being utilized, and, yeah, it's up to you.
I think it's great coming in the 21st century. I mean, we're cutting into Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune time, but I think it'd be great, you know. It's
Be live?
It's clarity. I like the
Okay.
idea.
No, I'm okay with it. When I read this, I was afraid it was going to be video and I was going to have to dress or something like that. But the audio is, no, I think to go live is fine, yeah.
Okay?
So, you folks want to weigh in, or?
I would just suggest you make it available, you know, I mean,
After the
I'd be
meeting.
okay with making it available, but, I mean, I'd rather have the people here and giving us face-to-face feedback,
Absolutely.
read their body language.
We have to
I don't know about
put
your body
numbers under
language,
the
but-
seats for secret prizes. Keep them
There's no
coming.
cost.
No, it's just part of the system, John.
Yeah, and it's just a YouTube account that we can do.
Neutral? Okay. So I don't know, for consensus, it looks like we'll go ahead and go live then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you folks want me to go live at the very next meeting? Is that what we're going to do?
Fine.
Okay.
You put it in the, do you have time to put it in the sewer bill?
No, the sewer bill's already printed, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
How would folks find that?
What was that?
How would folks find that?
Well, I'll send a link out, we can social media out, and we can put something in the sewer bills, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, you
And
could.
word will get out, put it on the website, we'll social media it, we'll do it in the next sewer bill.
You can tell the high school current affairs and politics classes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's your current events homework.
There you go.
Okay, very good, thank you.
The last thing that I was going to show you are the card room taxes. We got the 2 card room taxes in today, so I'll go ahead and show you that. Okay, so, and there's just one thing I want, this is, again, when it's received, so we received 2 months of revenue. One thing I just want to highlight, these 4 years, again, we're receiving a 10% tax. This amount, so it looks really significantly lower. Well, one, it is lower. They are making as much, but keep in mind that's at the tiered rate. So I went ahead and did the calculations as to what these numbers would have been if it was at the 10% rate. Each of these, this number would have been higher by 55,000, would have been 176, and the bottom one by 54, it would have been 175. So this number, if it was at the 10% rate, would have been 351. The only reason I want to highlight that to you is so that you look at this and you think, oh my goodness, they're doing terrible. No, just remember it's at a different tax rate.
They're still doing terrible.
They're still not doing it.
Did anybody cross the threshold above the 5%?
What was that question?
Did anybody cross the first threshold? Remember, it was a-
Oh, yeah, no, both crossed the first threshold. The Palace actually went above they actually paid 10% on part of theirs. So it goes 5, 7.5, and 10. And because the Palace got into the top tier, they paid, well, not the top tier, but the 10% tier.
I think some of it was 10%.
Yeah.
Do you have an effective rate?
Yeah, that was the next question.
On the overall was going to be about 7.6, I believe.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
And we did the
So-
right thing.
I think it's important that we continue to track those numbers, so
Thank you
we
for
get
that.
into the future, we can review where we are. and
Absolutely. Do you want me to provide the effective rate on a monthly basis?
If you can do that, well, you've got the spreadsheet going, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that'd be interesting to see.
And then another thing that I wondered, would you like to see the difference of what it would have been for the 10%? Only just so when you're doing your trend analysis, you can see, okay, this is what they would have earned, and you can compare it just because you've got the 4 years of data. And if I just really define it as, I don't know, I'll come up with a heading to make it pretty clear. So I just, only because when I analyze something, I do a trend. I'm like, well, what do they do? And you look that way. At this point, this trend analysis is going to get a little tricky in 18 because we're in a different taxing structure. So would that be helpful?
That would be helpful to me,
Okay.
if you could show what the
Okay.
gross, what we would call the gross amount, I think they call it net, but whatever that larger
Absolutely.
number.
Absolutely.
That would
Okay.
be very helpful,
Sure.
thank you.
I do
Yeah.
that, sure.
The effective rate would tell me the same thing, and we can compare a 10 to a 7 pretty easily.
Sure, absolutely. Okay. Okay. Let me play around with it. I'll try a couple different formats
Okay.
and we'll go from there.
As long as it's, Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. I took a lot of
So
time.
one thing too, now that we're talking about all that, we might as well just mention that it was a year ago next month that the new Phoenix closed. So up through,
Yeah.
these numbers all last year and January, February this year included both the Last Frontier and the new Phoenix. So going forward, it'll be more of an apples to apples comparison
Yeah.
to what,
Absolutely. Yeah, Mayor, I probably should have an asterisk on that, show when they close.
Yep.
If you have it. Okay, I will do that for the next budget. Are there any questions that I can answer, anyone?
So if you could just scroll up to the 2017, or last, can you scroll up on there?
This one, when earned, this one?
No, do you have the one that you had for 2017 without the 2018? No, wait, let's see.
That one, I see what you're looking at, hang on, that's on the staff report, so yes. Thank you for that. So the one that you're looking at, Mayor, only goes through 2017. This one, so is this the one you want?
Yeah, so
Okay,
I just,
yes.
for when received by the city, I just did a calculation by quarter, and I just wanted to point out to the council that for the first quarter, the revenues were down year over year, 13%, the second quarter, 17%, the third quarter, 28%, and the third quarter, they were down 37%. So, yeah, it definitely was trending down. So hopefully we'll see some improvement there. Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks, Suzanne.
You bet.
That's good.
So any other questions or comments, discussion on the report from council? Okay. Well, next on the agenda then is citizens' public comment. If anybody would like to address the council, please step up to the podium, give us your name, and if you could limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Skip Carlson. I live out of town. I just have a question for Joe. When, for Councilmember Valenzuela, when making reference to the dark fiber, who is they? Is it the port?
The port has worked with all the other ports
Uh-huh.
to get the legislation passed. They are intent on putting in the base optics. I think
They being the Port of
The port.
Ridgefield.
Yeah,
Okay, I was
Ridgefield's
just curious
for
during
our
your report.
area.
That's all.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that clear in my mind.
That was for our
So
area.
does the port own the dark fiber then?
Yes, and they're going to lease it to whoever wants to come
Okay.
in to sell it to us.
Okay, okay. We're good.
Think of it like a toll road.
I'm sorry, what?
Think of it like a toll road.
Okay.
Nobody's on it, they don't collect any tolls. But once they put the investment in, it'll be, once people are using it.
So does that make the port a public utility on owning that? I mean, I'm just curious to.
I couldn't answer that. I
I'm just
don't.
curious.
Yeah, I don't know that. I just know that all the ports had collaborated to get something to rural counties like ours.
Okay.
And so they went to this legislature, and they've worked it for 2 years now, and this year they were successful.
And that's a fundable through what kind of funds?
Again, I think it's their normal operating fund. The port's normal operating fund is gonna put it in,
It
and
may
I
come
think it's
through
already in the ground.
RUS. It may come through RUS funding for fiber to rural communities is where the majority of those dollars come from. Rural Utilities Services Department.
I know I'm slowing down the meeting, but I'm just curious because
Well, I didn't
I'm curious.
She has more information on that than I do. I just know that they're gonna put 40, they're scheduled to put 41 miles of it in.
Cool.
On this lower stretch here.
I was gonna come up anyway. I said, the Director Sarvis said, I think that, again, everybody mentioned I think the Public Works crew did a fabulous job during the inclement weather last week, whenever it was. They just did a fabulous job. So anyway, I'm sorry I've taken up time.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Good question.
Any other comments?
Larry Liven, 1109 West C Avenue, the center, council, mayor, and esteemed citizens. My 2 cents tonight, that meeting last night was totally incredible. You guys that didn't go missed it. And the thing that impressed me the most was the lady that led the whole thing. She had done several of these in the past that had come almost to blows. I mean, I heard her say that. Boy, this has been a nice one compared to some I've been to. So you all need to pat yourselves on the back. You all got along and took care of it. And I think you got some good stuff done. There's a few scary things, about the county maybe saying we can't have a second bridge. But anyway, keep up the good work. That's my 2 cents.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Okay, very good. Skip wants to go. Okay, I hear that. Well, that's all that we have on the agenda this evening. So with that, if I could get a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
I second that.
Been moved and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, being adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone,
everyone.
for being here.